How to PCS like a pro, top 5 tips. Welcome to the Military Move channel. My name is Emilio. I'm a local realtor out here in Tucson, Arizona, Davis Mountain Air Force Base, and I've also been active duty for almost a decade now. So if you're coming to the area and you need help with buying or selling a home, reach out to me. My phone number is 520-820-1948, or if you have questions regarding this topic. Or if you're looking to get connected with a realtor across the nation that knows how to help military families just like you, reach out to me down below. I have a document. Tell me where you're going, when, and what kind of help you're specifically looking for, and I'd be glad to connect you with someone. All right, top 5 tips on how to PCS like a pro. Starting with number 5, research. So immediately after you get your assignment, I highly recommend doing some research on the squadron and the base you're going to, and the local town that you're going to be in. And specifically, if you're in the Air Force and you go to the Air Force portal, you can go to the SharePoint and look up that squadron that you're going to be in. I'm sure the branches have something similar that you can do, but you're going to be able to see everyone from your chain of command to what the squadron is going to look like. And also, your next base might have some Facebook pages that you can join, whether it's an official page that the base has, or if it's a Facebook page that those that live in the area have created. Now, oftentimes, you can actually get a real good feel of what the base in the area is going to be like when you join those and start reading all those posts. And also, I highly recommend reaching out to any friends that are already there. They're going to be the boots on the ground and are going to be able to tell you if anything you see online is actually different from what it is, whether it be with your next unit or the area. And also, you want to do your research on your housing, whether you're going to be living on base or renting or buying off base. You're going to want to search apartment complexes, maybe what areas you might and might not want to live in. Consider how far or close you're going to be from the base, different price points, and pretty importantly, if you're going to be living on base, make sure that there's a wait list that you join it. And the third thing you're going to want to do research on is specifically cars. Now, my last PCS, I came from Japan where I owned a $1,000 car, paid $20 to fill up my gas tank, and only $300 every year just for insurance. Now, I knew I wasn't going to have it this sweet when I came to Tucson. So I started doing research specifically on what the price points are here, and also what's a rough average of the car insurance that I'm going to have to pay. And then I also actually started browsing on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist to see if there was anything on the market that really caught my eye. And then I actually started reaching out to those owners. And then I lined up the dates on when I can meet them and actually see the vehicles right after I got to my next base. I highly recommend to do these things. Not only are you going to prepare yourself, but your family as well when you get there. Tip number 4, make a binder or a folder. All right, now this is super crucial. When you get hit with that assignment, you have so much stuff to worry about. Everything from your personal belongings, so many checklists that you're going to get hit with, all your medical stuff, pets if you have them, and your family. Now, I've never had to deal with so many paperwork and appointments in my life until I actually had to do PCS. You can easily lose track of some of that stuff and forget appointments, lose documents, or maybe not have documents when you actually go to those appointments. So I highly recommend buying a binder or a folder where you have those 3-hole punches on them, and maybe insert some tabs and categorize those tabs by medical, out processing checklists, maybe household goods and things like that. Trust me, those documents that might not seem so important to you might unexpectedly get asked for by some agency on base that you didn't even know you probably had to keep. And also, you're probably already going to get told this, but make sure you have enough copies of your orders and any other docs that you're going to need, especially when you start actually flying or driving. And also, a little side note, make sure all the appointments that you have in that binder are lined up with your actual calendar. That way you know when, and set up reminders so you don't have to keep those things top of mind. You can somewhat forget about them and then you get reminded when you have your alert on your calendar. Because trust me, you're not going to be able to remember every single document that you have and every single appointment that you're going to have, especially if you have pets and family. All right, tip number 3, organize your belongings. As you might or you might not know, the military is going to be taking care of all your stuff and moving that. By the way, I have a full-blown video on how to do a Diddy move, so if you're interested in that, check out my channel. In order to prepare for the company coming out and picking up your stuff, I highly recommend decluttering in advance, weeks in advance. Trust me, you don't realize how much shit you have until you actually start PCSing and you find all your junk everywhere. You find things you didn't even know you had and stuff you don't even need. And honestly, I'm pretty liberal when it comes to decluttering with all that stuff because it's just more stuff you're going to have to put away at your next base. But with that, you're going to separate your items into 2 categories, household goods and unaccompanied baggage. I think it might be a little different if you're in the Navy or another branch, but for the most part, you're going to have a pickup where the company's going to pack and ship off most of your stuff, and it's going to take a few months to get there. And then you have your unaccompanied baggage. Now, normally this is a shipment that's smaller, and it's intended to get there at your next base a lot sooner. No, I say intended because sometimes there are delays with even the unaccompanied baggage. Now, things you're going to put in this unaccompanied baggage are things like pots and pans, some clothes, and even an air mattress, and some utensils. And this is just more to get you by until your actual household goods get there. Now remember, there's a limit by weight and how much stuff you're going to actually be able to ship in both of these shipments. And remember, you're going to want to keep a particular eye on your high value items. Things like your TVs, jewelries, any designer stuff, or any collectibles that you also may have. Now, I recommend if they're electronics or anything else that might have a serial number, track those serial numbers, write them down or just take a picture of it, and take a picture of the overall item itself. Make sure you can actually kind of determine the condition of that item in the picture. Because sometimes some of that stuff might get at your next base dinged up and damaged. And regardless, your movie company should have a list of all your high value items that you're going to actually annotate and itemize. And you're just going to put a rough estimate of how much that stuff is valued at. Now, also, one key note, depending on where you're going, such as a different country, you're going to be restricted on what you can and can't take. Now, for example, when I went to Japan, you obviously can't take any things like guns. And also, aside from your unaccompanied baggage and your household goods, make sure you take enough clothing and your uniform and your actual baggage when you start flying or driving. Don't be the doofus that puts all of his uniform in his unaccompanied baggage because he trusted it getting there on time at his next duty station. Alright, tip number 2, give yourself enough time. Now, what I mean by this is being proactive about your schedule and all your appointments that you're going to have to set. Sometimes those things can be a lot out of your control, but when you're able to book that stuff immediately and early. Now, I know regardless, there are going to be instances where you're going to have to book some of that stuff right after one another, and you're not going to have any breathing room between those appointments. You, your family, and maybe even your pets are going to have medical appointments, especially if you're going CONUS to OCONUS or vice versa. You're going to have to make sure that your family is medically cleared for all that, and your pets as well. And also as household good pickup dates. And lastly, your flights. You're going to want to book those out far out in advance if you can, because sometimes those pet spots on those rotators run out, and it's a pain in the ass sometimes to have to go another route. And also, one of the most important dates on all of these things is your report no later than date. Now, if you don't know what this is essentially the last day you have to report to your next duty station, whether you're taking leave or anything like that in between. All right, before this last tip, my name is Emilio. I'm a local realtor out in Tucson, Arizona, Davis Mountain Air Force Base. And if you're coming to the area looking for a realtor that knows how to help military families, just reach out to me. My phone number is 520-820-1948. Or if you're PCSing to another base or state, click my document down below. Tell me the place you're going, when, and specifically what kind of help you're looking for, and I can connect you with an experienced agent wherever you're headed to. Last tip, tip number 1, plan some downtime. Now, trust me, at the end of all these appointments, all this moving, all this packing, everything else, you're going to be gassed out. And honestly, you kind of want to reward yourself. You're getting ready to move your entire life across state lines, if not across the world. Now, as I mentioned, if you're just PCSing a few states away, I recommend doing a road trip if you want and if you can. Map out some places that you want to visit on the way, and even some places that you'll stay at, so you can have a pretty badass time doing that. And if you're not going to be able to drive when you're taking a flight, maybe take a flight, take a detour out to see some family. Let's say you're PCSing in California and your family is in Arizona. Make a pit stop, fly out from your base, go to Arizona, and then ultimately arrive at your base in California before your report no later than date. Now, sometimes you're able to squeeze in maybe a couple of weeks in there. I know that may be a little bit too much time to be spending with your parents or other family, but sometimes it's definitely an option that you have, especially if you line up those appointments that I was talking about earlier and all your other things. Now, also, you might arrive on a Friday at your next base if you're taking a flight, or even if you're driving. Now that means you have all that weekend to just go out and enjoy the town before you have to report on Monday. Please go out and enjoy some leisure time after all this stressful PCS stuff. Because trust me, you have so much more to do when you actually arrive at your new base. Alright, that is it. Those are the top 5 tips on how to PCS like a pro. Again, my name is Emilio. If you have any questions regarding any of this, or you want to get connected with a realtor that knows how to help military families, reach out to me. My phone number is 520-820-1948. Alright, see you.